Iran's threatening to switch off its oil supplies to Europe before the EU embargo comes into force in July. Parliament will discuss whether to make the move next week. The EU decided to stop buying Iranian oil, hoping to force Tehran back to talks over its nuclear programme. Let's talk about these latest developments now with Shirin Shafaie from the campaign against sanctions and military intervention in Iran. Shirin, very good evening. What message does this move send to Europe, do you think, now?
Well, I think there are three main points regarding the initiative by the Iranian parliament. One is that the grace period that the EU had envisioned for 6 months for this embargo to take place may actually not be that graceful. So Iran is taking matters into its own hand. Another issue is that it shows the complexity of Iranian domestic politics and the power that Iranian parliament holds, and that it's accountable to its people, and it's not going to just sit back and watch what's going to happen to the national sovereignty of Iran. And thirdly, it shows the disconnect between the European parliaments and the European people, because this embargo is not something which is going to be to the benefit of European people, and there's also a disconnect between European governments and their parliament as well.
Shirin, the big fear was that Iran would try and close, as they threatened, the Hormuz Strait. This kind of looks now that they may be backing away from that with this new preemptive move, doesn't it?
Well, not really, because the initiative which is taken up by the Iranian parliament is of a different nature. And the threat or the warning which was given by the Iranian Defense Force was, of course, of a different nature itself. And regarding the Iranian capacity to close off the Strait of Hormuz, actually, an Iranian commander said something which was not covered by the news outside Iran, which was he said that foreign forces are welcome to go to the other countries in the Gulf, for example, on the Omani side. But unfortunately for them, the geographical fact is that the waters on the Omani side are shallow, and ships have to go from the Iranian territorial waters to get to the Persian Gulf. So they are not going to be allowed to pass through that channel anymore.
But would Iran really ever stand a chance against America and the European forces? It wouldn't really at the end of the day, would it?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Would Iranian forces really, if they ever did try to block the Strait of Hormuz, stand a chance against American and European forces?
Yeah, the problem is that they are not afraid of that, because, as I said, they can close the Iranian territorial waters. And by doing that, this is completely within international law, and it's within Iranian rights so to do that. So there won't be a confrontation in that matter.
You mentioned just now about the economic effects it would have on oil, etc., and people and oil consumers. Iran also saying, of course, that sanctions won't harm its economy. Ahmadinejad saying his economy is now enjoying stability. But hang on, inflation is high, the currency is dropping. How much of this is him just putting on a brave face?
Well, you know, Iran is, it's not the most ideal situation for Iran, because Iran has to find different customers for its oil. But at the same time, Iran is going to decrease its dependence on the petrodollar, which is a very good thing in the long run. And of course, the Iranian middle class, the small businesses who actually do business with European businesses, they are going to suffer. But that is, Iran claims that is for short term. And in the long term, this is actually going to lead to more independence for Iran as a whole, as a nation, not just one part of the society which is investing in foreign businesses.
Shirin, let's talk for a minute about the nuclear talks. President Ahmadinejad reiterated again Thursday Iran's readiness to engage in talks over its nuclear program. The US also voicing its support for a peaceful resolution. Why has there been no progress, no real tangible progress yet, though?
Well, because the nuclear issue is really an excuse for deepening the confrontation between Iran and the West. Actually, at the same time that the EU is imposing these embargoes on Iran, we see that some European countries are selling more arms to the countries of the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf. So they are benefiting from this Iranophobia which they are creating in the region. So why solve the problem with negotiations while some countries are cashing in by deepening the conflict already?
It's a story we're covering extensively and watching very closely. We really appreciate your input as well. Shirin Shafaie from the Campaign Against Sanctions and Military Intervention in Iran. Thank you.